So I've been building blogs for more than a year now, and I've just made two major changes to my websites, which I think will push them onto the next level. So stick around to find out more. Hello YouTube, and a very special hello to all my subscribers. My name's Phil and welcome to my channel where I document my journey building an online income. So today we're going to be talking about month 18 on my journey for site 1 and month 13 for the other two sites that I've got. Don't forget that I'm also giving away a free 1-year membership to Project 24 this month. So make sure that you comment on this video, and all you have to do to win that prize is to answer this question. What would you like to see me do a video on next year? Just write down the topic in the comments and I put your name into the hat, and you could win a 1-year membership to Project 24. It's the same course that I'm following in order to build my websites, and it really has changed how I approach this, and I'm seeing a much more success than I did for years of trying before. Okay, so this video is kind of late because I'm going to be talking about my traffic for November and comparing it to the traffic from October. But stick around because I think there's a lot of lessons that we can all learn from the stats, and I don't want you to be making the same mistakes that I have been. So let's jump into the computer now and talk about the stats. We're going to see Google Analytics, Google Search Console, and I'm going to tell you exactly how much money I've earned, which is a lot more than the previous month, I can tell you. Okay, so here we are in the computer, and we're going to talk about 3 sites that I'm running at the moment following the Project 24 method. If you haven't heard about Project 24 before, it's a course that's been set up by Income School, and it kind of takes you through all the steps that you need to build a successful blog or to build a YouTube channel. Now the key thing is you've got to follow what they say. If you don't do what they say, it's not going to happen, and we're going to talk about that later on. So first of all, let's talk about that first site, the site that I started back on the it was the 21st of May 2019. So it's been going for about 18 months now. It's only got a total of 126 posts on it, and that's broken down into 3 different types, 3 different lengths of posts, let's say. So there are 93 response posts, which are about sort of 1,500 words long, and you can see that following the Project 24 suggestion of how long it should take to write a post, it would take me about 186 hours to write those 93 response posts. There are 21 staple posts, so that's about 84 hours of writing time, and only 12 pillar posts at 96 hours. Now, the reason it's kind of broken down like that is because I really just, I don't know, subconsciously went for sort of lower competition type queries. For the most part, most of these posts are on page 1, if not position 1. But perhaps I could have gone for more pillar posts and try and get the higher competition queries perhaps. This is something that I'm planning to do in the future. Anyway, the total writing time for that site was about 273 hours. So I have outsourced a couple of articles on this. About 24 of the articles I outsourced, which has cost me just over $600. But for the most part, I've written, you know, all the posts, about 100 posts on this site. There is a very small YouTube channel. It's not really doing much. It's only got the 13 videos on it still. And I'm monetizing this mainly with Amazon and also Ezoic. That's one of the things I need to tell you. I actually put Ezoic on all 3 sites. I'll be going into detail about that a little bit later and telling you exactly how much I earned in the sort of last 5 days of November. And it's quite exciting actually, the amount of money you can earn on Ezoic if you actually have it well sort of optimized. And I don't think I've got it well optimized yet, so there's a lot of potential. Anyway, let's look at the numbers there for site 1. Okay, so looking at Google Analytics for site 1 in the month of November, it got 22,012 page views, of which 94.5% were organic. And you can see it sort of fluctuating all through that period. I was really hoping that these sites would break the 1,000 page views a day, and the highest I got was on this site was 983. I was very close, and then from about the 22nd of November, things went downhill. Now, this wasn't because of a Google core update. It was actually because I put Ezoic onto the site and I was having to fiddle around with it to get it to actually work properly and not kill the page speed, which I did manage to do in the end. And you can see all the other stats here. The average time on page, just under 6 minutes, and the bounce rate is just under 90%, which again, for this kind of site, is not really much of an issue because the way that I'm writing the articles, you get the answer very quickly. So probably people are finding the information they need and just leaving and not looking for it elsewhere. So if we were just to compare November to October, in October I got 18,501 page views, so that's up by about 19%. And everything else is pretty good. The average time on page went up as well. The bounce rate went down, and the exit rate is the only one perhaps that I need to worry about, but it was a very small percentage of change. So we look at the Google Search Console data here. You can see that in November I got 16.2k clicks, 404,000 impressions. The average click-through rate is about 4%, and the average position is around 19 at the moment. And if we compare that to the previous month, you can see that again, unsurprisingly, the clicks are up, the impressions are up, the average click-through rate is actually up as well, but the average position is almost the same. And everything's kind of was fairly steady in this month, not massive amount of growth for site 1. So turning to site 2 now, it's a site that I haven't really touched in about 6 months. It's only got the 34 posts on it, 20 response posts, 9 staple and 5 pillar posts. I outsourced absolutely everything on this site to my writers that I had previously, and it cost me just over $1,000 to do that. But it was really a training site both for them and for me. It's got some Amazon links on it, but it doesn't really make much money. It has reached the kind of $5 mark of pizza day for Amazon ads, and sorry, Amazon links I should say. And it's also got Ezoic on it, so it is earning a little bit of money now. But to be honest, the stats aren't that exciting, but let's talk about them anyway. So for site 2 in November, it got 1,360 page views. So this is a site that I started in October, so the 31st of October. So it's just over a year old now. But as I said, really haven't touched it in a long time. It doesn't have much content on it. And of that content, only a couple of articles are really driving the traffic. But it's still getting a pretty good average time on page, you know, about around the 5-minute mark. But the bounce rate is pretty high. So maybe it's on my to-do list. I'm not going to let this one die, but it's not sort of my major concern right now. Just comparing that to the previous month. So this site is actually down. It had 1,562 page views in October, and it's down by about 12%. That's just because I'm not adding content. So I'm losing any rankings that I might have. And you know, if it carries on, this site will die, unfortunately. And you can see the Google Search Console figures here. So it's got just over 1,000 clicks in the month, which is true of Google Analytics. It's getting about 14,000 impressions. The click-through rate is pretty good at 8%, but the average position is much lower, or higher, we should say, at 25.6. So a lot of these articles that I put on this site aren't ranking on page 1 because I didn't really do very good search analysis. So in terms of clicks, obviously I got more clicks the previous month, more impressions as well, and the average click-through rate was a little bit better. And you can see that the average position has dropped from 21 to 25, or gone up. I don't really know, how do you say that? It's different, basically. This brings us on to site 3, which if you've been following me for a while, you know it's kind of the better site I've got. It grew much more quickly than site 1 or site 2. And it was bringing in quite a bit more traffic. But as we'll see in a moment, it's kind of leveled out a little bit. But this has only got 66 posts on it. Again, I've been particularly lazy with all my blogs in the last couple of months. That's 29 response posts, 24 staple posts, 13 pillar posts, which would be a total writing time of about 258 hours. And I outsourced everything on this site, and it's cost me just over $3,000 to do that. It's also got Amazon links on it, which is bringing a little bit of money in the last month. Nothing really to write home about, but in terms of ads, this is by far the best performing site for ads, and we'll look at that in more detail later on. So this site I started around the same time as site 2, so about the 31st of October 2019, and it got 23,911 page views, of which 93% were organic. That's compared, if we go back to site 1, site 1 only got 1,000 less than that, and that is over a year old. That's 18 months old compared to site 3, which is just over a year old. So this is done much better relatively amongst all 3 of my sites. It's getting sort of an average time on page of about 6 minutes, which is pretty good. The bounce rate again is about 90% there. And you can see this massive dip from November 24th to sort of going up to the 28th. This is when I put Ezoic onto the sites, and it just killed the speed, and it was really affected the amount of people actually seeing the site, because they just simply couldn't get there because it was so slow. But I quickly fixed that. I worked to optimize the site speed a little bit, and I'll talk about that in a moment, because I did make another big change to all these 3 sites in order to do that. We compare November to October, it actually dropped a little bit in traffic because of that dip when I put Ezoic on. So it's down by 0.21%. So, you know, we're looking at about 50 page views. So it didn't really see much growth in the month of November compared to how much it's been growing previously. And again, I haven't really been putting much content on it. It's probably in the last couple of months, it's only had 1 or 2 posts go up on it. Ever since the Content Warrior Challenge of September, I've become particularly lazy with these sites. It's something I really want to change for next year to get into better habits. So looking at the Google Search Console for site 3, in November it got nearly 19,000 clicks, 483,000 impressions. The click-through rate is 3.9%, and the average position is about 16.3. And you can see how that compares to the previous month. Not much change. Obviously fewer clicks in October, 18.5 compared to 18.8 in November. The impressions were much higher actually. I got nearly 500,000 impressions in October and only 483,000 in November. The click-through rate was lower in October, and the average position was higher up the scale, 16.8 compared to 16.3. But apart from that, it's fairly level. It's kind of almost come to a plateau. And this is because I just haven't put any more posts on it. So this is something I need to think about for the new year. So I kind of want to talk about that period where I put on Ezoic and my site speed dropped. So what I actually did was, because this was around Black Friday, I actually took up a pretty good deal that WPX.net were doing. So this, previously I was on Bluehost for all these 3 sites, but I decided, I'd always thought about doing this, but upgrading to WPX. And I thought it was going to be way in the future, maybe when I was hitting 30, 40, 50,000 page views. But because the site speed went down so much on Bluehost, and I don't think it's really their fault, but it was just the right time because of the deal with Black Friday. I made the move over to them. So I ended up buying 2 years of hosting with WPX, and what I've actually done is, with Ezoic, I've integrated Ezoic with the name servers. So all my domains I keep with namesilo.com, and so I changed the name servers over to Ezoic. And then what I did was, on the Ezoic dashboard, I actually went into the I don't actually know the word, the DNS settings, that's it, DNS settings. And with the help of the WPX help desk, they told me how to set up A records and a www WW record. So I did it the first time. I actually messed it up because if you're ever doing an A record where it says the name or the host, I was putting down WPX so I could remember what it was, but in fact you just got to put the @ sign, and that's your host, and that way it will work. So once I'd done that, I messed up the first time, I went back and asked for help. I did that, and within hours everything was working, the speed was much better, and yeah, everything was fixed. So that's the way I did it, from where my domains are, because I always keep them separate from the hosting, to Ezoic with the name server integration, and then through from Ezoic to the hosting with the DNS settings. Now, I couldn't tell you why that works or how that works, but that's what I did. So by making this change, it's made the sites earn a lot more money than they were in October. So if we look at, firstly, the Amazon. So site 1 managed to get, just from the American store, $106.15. It's a pretty good kind of amount of money coming through for that site, because I don't think it's a very big earner just by working with it for a while. Site 2 didn't actually make any money from Amazon, but site 3 did get about $10.86, which is quite good for that site, because it's not really a site that fits well with Amazon. It's more in the services niche, so it's dealing with a service rather than like a hobby or anything like that. So the fact that it's got $10.86, probably none of those things are connected to the niche anyway, but it's still pretty good. It's money in my pocket. So the total for just the American store for all the sites that I've got was $117.01. And you can see the numbers here. I got 1,275 clicks, 123 ordered items, conversion rate of just under 10%. And I also got a bonus of $3, which brings it up to that total. But I've also got the UK store linked to this account. I have also opened up the Canadian store again, because that got closed down a month ago, 2 months ago. So in total, it's saying $142.48 here, but that's not including the $3 kind of bonus that it shows us in the previous page. So that's $145.48 on Amazon across all of the websites. Okay, not fantastic money, but not something that I would pass by. Basically, it's money in my pocket. That's the way I'm looking at it. So I originally put Ezoic onto the sites on the 23rd of November, and it took me a couple of days to get it set up, and it really started counting the money around the 25th of November. So about the last 5 days of the month. So we can see that for site 1, in those 5 days, it made about $17.03. It's got an EPMV of $3.79. It's pretty low, to be honest, and I had previously had Ezoic on this site about 6 months ago, and it was the same kind of story. So it may just be the content I'm writing, it may be the niche. It's something I need to explore. For site 2, it made 99 cents in the 5 days. But the funny thing here is it's got an EPMV of $6.81. So the wedding niche, this is site 2, is in the wedding niche. It's a really good niche, I think. It's, you know, this early on to get that kind of EPMV. It's just I don't have the content. I'm not ranking for the right queries. I didn't put the effort in. So this really does encourage me to go back to it and maybe look at a different angle. How can a bloke sort of approach weddings that, you know, in a very female dominated kind of niche, I would say. Is there something I can do from that angle? So it's definitely worth exploring for site 2, because this could be a good money maker, I think. And then we come to site 3, which in about those last 5 days of November, it made $28.69. That's compared to 99 cents for site 2, and what was it? $17 for site 1. So it's definitely making the most money, and it had an EPMV for just those 5 days of $9.74. That's really, really crazy. This is obviously going to be my big money maker if I can keep the traffic up, if I can keep building it, as quickly as I was in the last couple of months. So according to Ezoic, that means that in the last sort of 5 days of November, all 3 sites made a total of $46.72. The average EPMV was about $6.16, and you know, it's money in my pocket, as I keep saying, but that is really encouraging for 5 days, making nearly $50. This just clearly shows that it's just a matter of getting the traffic. So this is why in the coming year, I'm just going to double down, get my head down and write articles. I don't know what I've been doing for the last month. I just need to get focused back on this because there is money to be made here. So that gives me a grand total of, as I said, $145.48 for Amazon, $46.72 for ads, and that gives me $192.20. This is the highest I've made on all these sites. It's been slow progress, I know, but I'm learning things all along the way. And I do see this as more sort of a marathon than a race. It doesn't matter how long it takes me to get to my goal, but as long as I get there, that's all that counts, right? If you found today's video useful, then please do give me a like, because it does tell me the kind of content that you guys enjoy, and that makes it easier for me to produce the same kind of content for you in the future. Also, don't forget to comment on this video the topic that you'd like to see for another video in 2021, and that gives you a chance to win a 1-year membership to Project 24. It really is a great gift, and I think it will help even the most experienced online content marketer. So guys, thanks very much for watching this video. Don't forget, keep publishing. It really makes all the difference in the world. I'll see you in another video very soon.